Hi, my name is Katie Hurst, and I'm the Director of Communications here at Ruby. And I'm really excited today to host the panel on moving forward, discussing what comes next and how businesses are planning ahead. We have a fantastic group of panelists here for you, and let's go ahead and get started. So I'm going to start and have everyone introduce themselves. Let's go ahead and start with Robin.
Hi, I'm Robin DeTrude. I am the owner of Elaine Salon, located in Fishers, Indiana.
Thank you. And Robust Promotions.
Hi, I'm Greg. I'm with Robust Promotions. We're a sweepstakes and promotions agency for retailers.
And I'm his wife, Leslie, and we've been doing this business for 14 years now.
Awesome. All right, and Joshua.
Hi, I'm the Chief Operating Officer for an oral surgery practice outside of Philadelphia.
All right, so we've got folks from just about everywhere. I'm so excited. So we're going to start with a really simple question, although it is a little bit loaded, which is, has your business survived a disaster or crisis before, and how is this different? So let's go ahead and start with Leslie and Greg. Have you experienced a crisis like this? And if so, why is COVID different?
Yeah, I think we failed to say we're outside of Chicago in the suburbs. But we sell nationwide, mostly to restaurant chains, but we have other retailers. And in the Great Recession, we had a bounce back that wasn't V-shaped. We had our best 7 months in 2009 after a goose egg for the first 5 months, and we did more in those 7 months than we've done in any year in the 14 years we've been in business. So we spiked straight up. Once people got past the fear, we got flooded.
Okay. Robin, how about you? With the salon business, have you guys been pretty much weatherproof in terms of disaster or crisis, or have you experienced something like this before?
I have to tell you, we are so lucky. We have never, ever experienced anything like we've just been through. Mm-hmm. Even throughout some of the leanest times for clients, we always seem to make it through okay.
Mm-hmm.
So.
And similarly, Joshua, as an oral surgery, have you guys experienced anything that would have, affected your business related to disaster or crisis?
Well, I'm relatively new to the business, a little over 2 years, but as I understand it, in the 30 years that the practice has been in existence, it's never experienced anything like this, where basically we're forced to close and then allowed to open up to just deal with emergent and urgent patients on a very, very, very limited basis. So not really.
So, and you guys are still on a limited basis of being able to interact and deal and take client appointments, correct?
Actually, no. In Pennsylvania, they just allowed May 8th, dentist offices were allowed to open up for full service, of course, observing all PPE and social distancing and all that stuff. But we are now back up and running. As an oral surgery practice, we're a little bit different than a general dentist. We don't do hygiene and things like that, which are actually still somewhat limited.
Right. And it's so interesting, you guys being from all different parts of the country, talking about different types of reopening schedules that are happening right now. And we'll get to that a little bit later. So let's talk a little bit about what's a fundamental of your business that you've had to completely rethink. And let's go to Robin for this question first.
I really liked this question because it really made me think about what all we had to do. And, I have to say the first and foremost, it was the safety of my staff and clients. Having safety protocols in place, policies, procedures for staff and clients, I found is huge in what we just went through and what we're still going through, quite frankly.
Mm-hmm. And going back to Joshua, I would imagine that's something, even though you guys are dentist office are very aware of PPE and making sure that everything's hygienic, have you had to rethink how you interact and do appointments?
Oh, absolutely. We're doing telemedicine appointments. The staff is much more dressed up in PPE than they ever were before. We did do face shields and goggles and full gowns and all that stuff, which is definitely part of what's going on now. Our waiting room is no magazines in our waiting rooms anymore. Yeah. All those things that people touch. The cleaning procedures, though, always were very, very meticulous, or even more so. I mean, every surface is getting wiped down now, whereas before we might not have wiped down a countertop because the patient wasn't going anywhere near it, that kind of thing. So, yes, it's definitely given us a lot more to think about, and quite frankly, a lot lot more for the staff to deal with on a minute-by-minute basis. And that PPE that we're wearing is very hot, actually. And for anyone who's been in an oral surgeon's office, they like to keep it really cold. And even as chilly as the offices are kept, the staff gets hot after dealing with 4, 5, 6 patients. So yes, definitely has had an impact.
Oh, that's interesting. I wouldn't have thought of that before. So, it's like acting like kind of like a sweatsuit, and now patients should come in a little bit more dressed in warm clothes, since the air might be turned down a little bit more, it sounds like.
This is true.
All right. So Greg and Leslie, talk to us a little bit about what has changed about your business.
Well, when we started 14 years ago, we built out 2 offices, and we thought that the clients would come to us, and they didn't. The only one that enjoyed our offices were us and the UPS guy.
And the dog.
So we toned it down about halfway through, and we still have nice offices. We're there now, but what we relied on in the interim was face-to-face, so airplanes basically, to get to clients and prospects, and now that's out. So
Right, trade shows,
yeah, trade
right.
shows,
Conferences.
conferences, and then on site with clients, and that's gone. So everything's changed.
Yeah. And going on to the next question, since you guys specifically brought this up, I'll stick with you guys. COVID and the idea of a post-COVID world, how has it changed the way you approach your business? You guys mentioned you had kind of thought about some of this stuff, but had put it off. So talk to me a little bit about how are you approaching your business planning now?
Well, yeah, we thought mistakenly that restaurants were a recession-proof industry because you have to eat 3 times a day. And as we know, because of the lockdown, restaurants have been hit about as hard as anything, maybe cruise ships and airlines. So that business has come to a complete stop. So we've pivoted into C-stores and other retail, and we're doing stuff with charities and nonprofits because they can't do events, and that's how they make their money and raise revenue for their causes. So we've had to be agile and shift on the fly, but we're small agencies, like say 4 people fast. So
Fuel retailers,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
The
Fuel retailers,
independents,
convenience stores. So the retailers that are still operating, even fuel retailers are not operating to the extent that they were before because people aren't going out and driving as much as they were. So it's just been challenging, but
And for our core business, it's been a real challenge for me. I'm basically our marketing arm, so to speak, of our business. And I've been busier, even though we haven't had a lot of sweepstakes and promotions going on right now. I've actually been busier with the webinars that I've been attending, just trying to keep abreast of what their new policies, what the restaurant industry is thinking, how they're going to proceed. And so now I'm pivoting that portion of our business to do more of a thank you, looking at doing thank you promotions as opposed to bounce back promotions. We have to figure out how to get people to actually come back into the restaurants, right? Even once they open, just because they open, people are not just running to those restaurants right now. So I'm kind of switching our whole way of looking at the promotions and sweepstakes to go after thanking them for coming back, sticking with them, that type of thing.
Yeah. Well, and that's interesting. That I could see affecting Robin's business as well, that even though salons are opening up, people may be a little bit reluctant to come in. So, taking this question to you, Robin, how have you changed the way that you approach business planning because of COVID?
Well, this has caused me to rethink the value of product sales, gift certificate sales. And the other thing is just how important it is to communicate with clients via social media, texting, all that kind of stuff. Even though the salon was closed, I still made sure clients were able to come and set up a time to pick up products that they needed. Some of our clients, God bless them, bought gift certificates just to keep money in the Elaine's account, just to help us stay physically sound while our doors were shut.
Mm-hmm.
So it has really caused me to come up with, and my staff, interesting, creative ways to keep some revenue, very small, but keep revenue still coming in during that time.
Yeah, and it sounds like Leslie and Greg, there's some overlap in terms of you guys are helping other restaurants with those promotions, and Elaine is coming up with some new ways for her own salon. So there's some overlap there. Going to Joshua, I mean, your business can't do gift certificates and things like that. So how has COVID approached the way you do your business planning, especially as you mentioned, you're being the CFO?
Well, it's in many, many different ways. We're doing a lot more virtual stuff with telemedicine. Our website, social media sites have all been enhanced greatly with interactive communications. As an oral surgery practice, a lot of our business comes from our referring dentists. Well, right now, three-quarters of our referring dentists still aren't even open yet. So it's a matter of how do we get patients through the door if their referring dentists aren't seeing them. So direct marketing has become a bigger tool for us. Being able to, optimize our website for SEO and searches and Google reviews and all those kinds of things, which as an oral surgery medical practice, who the heck would ever thought that you need to do those things? It's like, well, people just come, build it and they will come. Well, it's not happening anymore. So you've got to show people that you've got it built already. So it's definitely changed our scheduling and everything we're doing about marketing.
Mm-hmm.
We hired a marketing director. I mean,
wow, that's a first. You guys haven't had a marketing director before?
No, I was doing a rather poor job of it myself. So I'm not a marketing person, and I try not to have a Facebook and Instagram account, but you need to have those things. And we needed someone who understood how to navigate all that. In addition to spending time on our website and optimizing the SEO and all of those things that I could scratch the surface of, but I was certainly not the right person to be doing it.
So it sounds like there's an opportunity out there for marketers. Oral surgery practices may be in need of your assistance.
Well, I will tell you that it's real interesting because dentists and oral surgeons are not necessarily the people who think in terms of what they need to do to market. And right now, COVID has made it absolutely essential that if you're not ahead of the curve, you're going to get buried under the wave, and that's so we've really tried to stay ahead of it, and I think we're doing okay. But let's see what happens in 3 months. I mean, that's.
Yeah, and that's actually, let me follow up then with the next question, which is, what are you changing in the short term versus what you think will need to change in the long term? Do you think marketing will be a continued long-term strategy for you guys, or will you go back to relying on referring partners, you think?
No, I think the world has changed. We think the world has changed. My managing partner is a very smart guy, and he totally understands the fact that it's a different world. I mean, up to this point, we had a fair number of people who came to us who were not referred, but at the same time, the majority of our patients were. So how do we shift that from more unreferred patients to referred? Because at the same time, a lot of the dentists are now doing things that we do. I'm sure everyone on this call, besides me, has a dentist who says, we'll do your implants for you. And the reality is that they're not oral surgeons. They don't do implants the way oral surgeons do implants. So let me just make a recommendation. If you have oral surgeons in your area, go to your oral surgeon for an implant, not your dentist.
All right, so asking that same question, which is, what are you changing short-term versus long-term? Let's go to, since Greg and Leslie are on my screen right now, what are you guys changing the short-term versus long-term, and are things that you're doing now thinking you're going to continue doing them even after things reopen?
Yeah, we touched on it earlier. For a long time, I was intending to make the transition from the restaurant sector into convenience and fuel retail. And we just, out of necessity, were nudged that direction. And that was fortunate that we had 80% of our plans in place. So we just had to dust off those plans, bring them to fruition, and go to market. So we're right in the middle of that right now.
Well, I'm very excited. I'll have to follow up with you guys after to hear how that transition's going in a couple of months.
Sure.
Robin, so short-term versus long-term, what changes did you make short-term, and what things do you think will last through that you've changed into the long-term?
Well, the short-term things that we've done and put into place are, for instance, I won't allow my stylist right now to double book. You know, sometimes we will have one client in the chair, put them over, they'll slap some color on them and put them over and wait, and then do a haircut in between. There's no more doing that. Clients need to stay in their car until the stylist texts them to come on in. No magazines. You know, one of the things I love the most about Elaine's is we take pride in, golly, we have soft drinks and coffees, and we serve in ice, with ice, and all those things. All that stuff is done. So we have to wear masks and all that good stuff. But I think in the long term, some of these things we're going to stick with, because I think Joshua is absolutely right. We are definitely in a new world. So we're going to get together and continue as a team to talk about things and just see what we come up with and what we're all most comfortable with that keeps everyone safe at the same time.
So this is a good question because you all are small business owners, and as I was talking to Robin earlier, it sounds like you guys have communities of small business owners as well that you know and interact with. So what is something you've seen other businesses do that you admire and would like to implement, and why? And we'll just stick with Robin.
Okay, well, for me, first of all, oh gosh, I always keep my mind and open for whatever comes down the pike and what other people are doing. I think that's very important to do that. Having said that, I truly feel like I was ready to open the day they closed us down. I knew exactly what needed to happen. So I prefer to lead, if you will. I prefer to lead, and I did take other people's ideas, and I also took, we have a fantastic source. It's called Behind the Chair that really I leaned on a lot to help me wrap around what I thought was the right thing to do, and I was able to implement some of that. So
that's awesome. I love small business owners are often the trailblazers, right? So Greg and Leslie, have there been maybe clients or other businesses that you guys admire and that you've implemented some of their ideas or would like to implement some of their ideas?
Yeah, because everyone's scrambling and trying new things, an adjacent business, somebody that we've worked with before, reached out and asked if we could help with something that was happening with a star, and they were going to put a sweepstakes around it and hand out $1 million grand prize on Sunset Boulevard days before the lockdown in California. So we were kind of into planning that, and I started looking into social influencers and seeing that could be a real opportunity for what we do. You get almost immediate PR out of it. It lends sort of credibility to it. It scales quickly because you've got a known entity behind it or entities. So I'd like to get into more of that because our initiatives and campaigns lend themselves to that. We just haven't done anything in it in 14 years. It's surprising because we work with big brands like Applebee's and Popeyes, and we just have never tied that with George Clooney or Justin Bieber or whoever. So it seems like that's a simple no-brainer. We just never have thought of that before. So.
Yeah, it certainly seems that this time is bringing together businesses that may have never interacted before and realizing that there's some sort of complementary service or there's some way to collaborate in order to be able to best serve clients and keep, both businesses afloat. Thank you so much, everybody, for participating. This has been so amazing and your stories are so incredible. I really appreciate you sharing your insights, and I know they'll be so valuable for other small business owners. For those of you watching, be sure to check out the rest of our Business Unusual series and subscribe on our YouTube.